Alright, today we're going to be playing Call of Duty Vanguard in 2025. This was a game that was released 4 years ago now, so it's been quite a while now since it came out. And 2021 was supposed to be a great year in gaming, especially online multiplayer. We had a new Halo, Battlefield, and Call of Duty all in the same year, but each and every one of those games were a huge disappointment and were not very good or very memorable. And, maybe if you're, like, I'm going to have a lot of young viewers that maybe Vanguard was their first game. It's possible. There might be some of them out there in the comment section that are like, oh, Vanguard was the greatest game ever. What are you talking about? You fucking idiot. You don't know what you're saying. Nah, Vanguard, this is supposed to be a World War II game, right? Look at the gameplay and tell me this looks and feels like a World War II game. That was my main problem with this game, is that it had just such a huge identity crisis. Never mind the fact that you had a Snoop Dogg operator, and you had all these weird rainbow cosmetics and, all the shit that we've been getting probably since Modern Warfare 2019 when they first started rolling out the battle passes and the operators and everything. It just got way too cartoony, and you just can never take it seriously. I know Call of Duty is like, it's not meant to be taken super seriously, like it's not meant to be realistic, but come on. You have a fucking laser assault rifle that, like, it looks like I'm playing Advanced Warfare 2, not a World War II game. COD World War II, despite all of its flaws, definitely captures the World War II setting a lot better. Not nearly as good as World at War, but yeah, if you're, like, into World War II shooters specifically, Vanguard is not an option that is even worth considering, because it does World War II dirty. The single-player campaign is shit, not even that memorable, so not even worth it for that. The zombies are a joke. Everyone knows how horrible Vanguard zombies are. So it really isn't much reason to play this game in 2025. It is honestly, out of all the Call of Duty games, I have like the least amount to say about this game because it's the least played game that I had in Call of Duty. Like, I maybe put, I don't even know how many hours. It had to be like less than 10 before I'm like, yeah, I give up. I do not want to play this shit. And so I didn't. I kind of just gave up on it and moved on to something else. As much as I have a lot of nostalgia and deep fondness with the Call of Duty series, if the game is just not good and I'm not vibing with it, then I'm just going to not play it. So that's what happened in 2021. And I really just come back to this game to make these videos, like, if I'm going to be honest. Like, there's other games that I always look forward to playing again. Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, even COD World War 2, Black Ops 4, like some of the more recent Call of Duty games. They're not even recent anymore. Those games that I mentioned are still, like, close to a decade old. But Vanguard, I really struggle coming back to this game and not wanting to just die. Like, I have no enjoyment. Like, I'd rather just clock in and do a shift at work than play this game for 8 hours. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, even if I got paid for it. It did a couple things that were kind of interesting, but also made the game very inconsistent and not very fun. The one new thing they introduced was combat pacing, where you can choose how many players you want in a lobby. So you can either have 6v6, which is the standard Call of Duty experience, or you can choose 12 versus 12, which is bigger than Ground War, like the traditional Ground War experience at least, where it was only 9v9. And they also had a third mode, like, as part of the combat pacing that was, like, even more. I think it was, like, 18 versus 18 or 20 versus 20, something like that. But they got rid of it because they're like, yeah, this is way too chaotic and not good. So now we only have 2 combat pacing modes. Blitz is the 6v6, and that's the one that I play on because it still sucks when you're playing, like, on these really big-ass maps. But it's even worse when you're playing on the smaller maps and you're playing with 24 players. So I just end up just going with 6v6 every single time. But it's so inconsistent because they designed very small maps and very large maps. Instead of having each map locked to that specific mode, like if you're playing the larger player game mode, it puts you in all the same maps as if you're playing the 6v6 mode. So that's kind of, yeah, it really wasn't a good system, and there's a reason why they didn't bring it back in future Call of Duty games. It's like the one thing that they introduced was something that was so horrible that they never decided to revisit ever again in the COD series. So there really isn't much legacy for this game, nothing to look back on and be like, wow, like they really nailed it with this game, and they did so many great things. It was really a horrible Call of Duty experience. One of the worst Call of Duties that you could possibly play, not just in 2025, but in general. Like, I think I'd even rather play the DS multiplayer games, because, yeah, you did have DS games that had online multiplayer back in the day. And it was just a fucking weird experience. Like, you make a World War II game, which, as a result, the gunsmith, which was one of the really good things they introduced from Modern Warfare 13 onwards, like, the weapon customization was insane, but it became a lot more limited because it was in a World War II setting, which you can understand at first. It's like, okay, you want to be true to World War II and not have, like, fully decked out modern-style attachments on your weapons, but then you put in fucking laser weapons, and I can't take this shit seriously anymore. I really can't. Like, I don't know what they were thinking with this. It's definitely nowhere compared to COD World War II, because this is the sequel to COD World War II. It's not even, no, just play World War II. Like, that's the best thing I could say. This game does still have very populated servers in 2025 because of crossplay and everything, so you won't have a problem actually finding people, but I wouldn't put myself through the torture of experiencing this. It's just so bland and boring and shitty. Even for a Call of Duty game, it doesn't really do much for me. And that was the case in 2021, and certainly 4 years later in 2025. Not worth playing.